Welcome to episode 17 of Liquid Velvet Literature. I wish I was ocean size. Good morning. Welcome to episode 17 of Liquid Velvet Literature here on Prose Radio. We began with a quote by Jane's Addiction. What a great album that is. Is. Nothing shocking, and that was from Ocean Size. And, I think every certain albums are just landmark albums. If not for just individually, but period. I think that Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, who else? Slayer, the Beatles, and Jane's Addiction. They kind of put an end and a beginning to a generation of a type of music. And I think that when I heard Nothing Shocking for the first time, it really kind of changed my perspective on a few things. One was the writing in albums. When I opened that up and I read that beautiful handwriting on that black backdrop, and I was reading the lyrics, and it was just like this almost a cry of the dispossessed. It was a really beautiful moment to just sit back and read those and listen. And I don't know, I just thought I like the fact that it opened up 17 with that quote from them. And let's see, what else? We have two writers today that doubled in the video. The piece by Mavia you're about to hear after, I think it's the third piece in today. I lost the master footage for that, and then I had to go back and use a recording I did of that for a review video I did on my own YouTube channel. And I like that even more. The sound might be different, but I had to take an MP3 and make a wave and an MP3 again here on YouTube. But I liked the piece, and I had read it originally as just a warm up. I clicked on Prose and I just started reading this thing. And I liked it so much that I kept it for the review video. And I then recorded it with I had, a face, a talking head like this, which is also interesting because I noticed that not just myself, but a few people I watch, a few narrators I watch on YouTube, the way the cameras are, they have this big bobblehead. And I was laughing a couple of days ago thinking about that because my niece was like, "Your head looks gigantic, Uncle Jeff." I go, "Yeah, it does." Huh, that sucks. But does it really? Who cares? Anyway, not enough coffee, but I'm going to get some now, and let's jump into these videos, or these writers. Holy shit. Let's just do this. I am a dog. I sleep most of the day, maybe the night too. She feeds me. She's nice. Her miseries are mostly of her own making. She frets over the shade of her mascara. She further frets over those creak lines under her eyes. I see her without makeup, too. She isn't too bad, but rates herself a bit on the lower tier that has made her too accessible. Vulnerable, she always was. I knew her vulnerability when she overfed me, when she would sit under the jacaranda and keep looking at me, and end up with tears and tears. She talked to me as if I understood. She would pat my head and ask whether I was tired. I would ask instead whether she was tired. But beyond this mundane emotional infestation, we knew stuff. I knew she was alone, moneyless, trying too hard to live till the next day, trying too hard to pomade her hair backwards, trying too hard to just fit in. I think she understood me too. I'm black and furry and stupid. She thinks I'm an overthinker. It's most likely that every fear of hers she finds as a fear of mine too. Maybe in this stupid two-room apartment, like so many other stupid two-room apartments, we are just living, putting on a good show, and nobody really knows that we are tired of pretending. Still, pun intended, at least she gets laid. I'm all by myself. This spirograph, unfinished garage, poetry scene bullshit has got me feeling like I'm filling out an application for a liver transplant. Lies upon lies between memories and a waning interest in breathing. Did I tell you I had a cardiac event last week? Shit, I didn't even flinch. You would have been proud. I suppose it is not uncommon for someone to give a parting gift on their deathbed, or rather when they know that they are dying. I remember sitting on the back unscreened porch, the beautiful countryside not so rustic, disturbed. The mountain behind us having been dynamited and built over on the rescinding of Cloud 9, a provision in the land deed that had previously prohibited construction. Yet in front of us, the valley, as far as the eye could see, was still lush. It was June. The mosquitoes kept a respectful distance, and all was quiet. The orange-purple twilight slipping beyond the green feathery tops of the oaks, maples, and walnuts at the edge of our property, just where the cul-de-sac swooped around two other invisible homesteads. We sat on tall black swivel chairs we wheeled from the home office counter Father had built into the kitchen. Bats twinkled, tiny black stars above. A favorable sign, he said, and then an owl called, a great horned. He sat to my right in the corner, backdropped against the slatted window of the laundry, where the circular stairs descend to the basement and two-car garage. Two almost identical yet distinctly different vehicles, waiting there like faithful horses. We sat, wrapped individually, side by side in charcoal gray woolen army-issue blankets for quality, not nationalism. Each of us bracing the slight chill of the evening, and more so the inner tremors the reckoning brings universally in the turn of a day. He gave me so many gifts, immaterial, intangible, and immeasurable, it seems almost bewildering that this is the one that rises above the others. I told him I loved every minute of our hell, and apologized for any grief I might have given him. Me too, he said, me too. He said other things more personal, and then squeezed my hand with extra significance, like to one whom you trust, and he said, when the time comes, and it will come, do whatever you can to make the passing easier. You may not understand now, but you will know. And I knew, and am eternally grateful. This from a man who had suffered and sacrificed, withstanding untold pain in untold ways. He asked for the morphine. He asked again and again, and then he stopped asking, and still I gave it to him. Had he not given me those words, I would have felt that I had killed him. Sometimes the shape of creativity is the undulation of a violin, the way the sound waves with the silence of the wood that extends to turning keys, up where resonance is contained. In unexpressed ideals, homes, As loose string when words fail and imagery evades and a sigh escapes from the audience, hanging on life's expectancy and that amorphous darkness between. I died twice in a decade, spent years slowly shriveling to a husk, becoming empty, bones crushed to dust by the weight of what if. My ghost haunted this world, even as misery bloated my corpse, covered in shrouds of should have and supposed to be. My first death was an instant and an eternity. My second death came quickly, the kind of ancient mercy. That death became a formless state, fearless and willing to be reborn, ended by electricity shocking a still heart, a double bass drum pounding resuscitation, breathing life with howling screams into the place of primal awakening. Knowing finally the freedom to exist as my spirit dictates, within the sacred surrender to sound, the cacophony of energy, a mass of swirling forms, like a portal to another dimension, I found the resurrection of identity. There is nothing but empty eyes staring into the bright fire. Heavy darkness burns around you, cold against the flickering flames. The silence eats at you, as does the memories you've come to burn away. Scattered thoughts of shameful feelings ignite against the blackened sky, bringing you back to times since past. You want nothing more than to forget, so you sit here, waiting for the fire to burn it all away, pleading with your mind in hopes of cleansing all the pain away. It's a foolish feeling, wanting young innocence to die, but it's hard to make a peaceful mind when all you feel is deep regret. Burn, weathered and tethered, folding into form, the colors blur into one, inhale the sense of the past, crumbling to ash. There is only reality. Everyone's indelibly inked, tattooed, eternally living, colored, hands, neck, genitals, eyelids, brain. Your experiences stick like dog shit. You can wash, go to therapy, but the sink, persisting, preserves, permeates, suffocates, sticks like super sticky gorilla glue, peeling off skin to bleeding layers, trying to peel it away. Conditioning an individual, dye job embarked at birth, coloring our actual thoughts deep down beneath our roots. Pull out your hair one by one, feel the little fat growth sac pop out. Do it 1,000 times over by then, new hairs will begin to pop in, tangled multicolored jumble mess, mixed brew up singular realities. I miss the stars. When I was a girl, you could see them from town. Now, only a few are able to wink through the layer of smog and city lights. Where there were once shooting stars, there are only satellites. I mourn the stars. I long to live in a place where they might exist too. I used to look at them every night. I'd look and look and look, and I'd wonder about who else might be seeing them. There is something about looking at the stars that makes one feel so wondrously small, There is something about looking at the stars that makes one feel so wondrously significant, too. Stars connect us to times and places we'll never truly get to visit. So vast, so familiar. My father was the one who taught me to look up. He was a troubled man, but in those moments we stared up at the gaping maw of the universe, he was able to set aside the terror in his heart. He was able to just exist, to be the purest version of himself, the one untainted by the cruelty of this world. The stars were his escape. He made them mine, too. He told me once that he'd sometimes climb onto the rickety roof of his childhood home to see them. He'd sit under the glory of starlight and pretend that he was anyone else, that he were anywhere else. He said when he looked at the stars, he could convince himself that he was some other boy, one who was loved and fed and whose clothes weren't filthy and tattered. He could pretend that anything was possible. I liked that. On clear nights, Father would haul out his and Ma's frayed wedding quilt. He'd spread it on the grass and lie down, patting a spot beside him. I'd curl into his warmth and he'd stroke my hair, and then we'd look at the constellations. We'd wish upon the shooting stars. We'd wonder where planes blinking red against the backdrop of galaxies were taking their passengers, and he'd tell me stories. Stories about before he became a monster. Frogs he'd caught with his brothers, how he tormented the turkeys on the farm, the way he'd run barefoot in the grass, the candy he'd buy for a penny at the corner store. He'd tell me about growing up poor and filthy and rotten, about how he got a job at the mill and bought a T-topped Corvette with his 6th paycheck, how the women had swooned for a chance to sit in the passenger seat. It's how he'd won over his first wife. He'd tell me about our family, about the golden retriever he bought to celebrate my birth, the playhouse he built, the pool table that had a permanent place in the sunroof of our family home. And all the while, we'd lie beneath the blanket of stars and mourn. He mourned the life he lost. I mourned the childhood I would never have. The version of my father who held me and whispered stories under the stars was the only version I could ever really love. We could both pretend. I could pretend he didn't hit me and scream and tell me I was worthless. He could pretend I didn't hate him for it. We'd lie there until the blanket turned soggy and reality came crashing back in. There was always a moment when I could see he was entertaining just staying the way we'd been, when he was considering shirking the overcoat of evil he wore to guard his heart and just become the father I so badly wanted him to be. But the moment would pass, and the coldness would settle back into his steely eyes, and we'd go back to the truth that neither of us could escape. He'd stalk inside with the wet quilt draped over his shoulder like some kind of dead animal. I'd stand in the yard a while longer and look up, and I'd wish. And my heart would ache for the tremendous possibility that hid in the blackness between the stars. My heart still aches for that possibility. My heart still aches for everything that could have happened but didn't. I miss the stars. I miss the world of only a decade ago, where I could see them from my bedroom window. I want them back. I want to fill up all the empty spaces inside my heart with stars. So long as there is even one, I'll keep looking up, and I'll wish. I lied about watching Yellowstone. I'd made a new friend and I panicked. She loves Yellowstone. I'd refused to watch it on principle. She didn't know that. One night at dinner, she made a joke with a punchline from the show, and damn me, I figured it out and went along with it, and she squealed with delight. "Oh my gosh, you watch Yellowstone too?" And because I'm too desperate to be liked, and the friendship was barely budding, I replied, well, duh, who doesn't? We proceeded to talk about the show for half an hour. Well, she talked and I bullshitted, and I realized two things. 1, my friend is stupid. 2, I either had to binge watch Yellowstone or continue to lie to her about it forever. And because I am an actual asshole, and because a small part of me enjoys toying with people, I decided then and there that I wouldn't watch Yellowstone. I would instead see how long I could keep up the ruse. It's been 2 years since I made that resolution. She still thinks I've seen every episode. She still texts me, gushing. I still shoot back theories based on nothing but the breadcrumbs she so charitably litters amongst her texts. I won't even Google. That ruins the fun for me. It's become a game I just can't give up. So, I lied about watching Yellowstone. The lie rolled off my tongue like smooth whiskey, and I like the taste. It was a little lie, but now that I've started, I think I might like to lie a little more. And that's going to wrap today. Thank you for being here, and thank you to all the talent that was featured on the show today. And before I go, I want to say, if you like to read or write, or both, go to the pros. Read, write, inspire, be inspired. And I hope all is well with you and yours, and we'll see you in the new video. Take good care.